Fortunately, we've not had any concerns or issues.
The Pendos law firm estimates they have fed around 600,000 people over the years. They are giving out turkeys across the state, 1,000 right here in Orlando.
It's great, though. Everybody's talking with one another. Everybody's happy. It's like that's what it's all about.
Last year, many families spent the holidays apart. Folks in line say they're looking forward to a family reunion for this Thanksgiving.
It's just bringing people back together. My family has been separated for, this whole pandemic, and this time we're going to get together, and I'm actually driving to Tampa to see them and bringing the turkey.
In Orlando, Amanda McKenzie, Fox 35 News.
Safety and welfare, as well as their families, considered setting bail, including setting any pretrial release conditions that could affect the safety and welfare of the victim. Ms. Evans.
Our big story at 5:30 tonight. This man is in jail, accused of holding a woman captive for months and sexually assaulting her. The alleged crime started all the way up in Delaware, but it ended right here in Central Florida. Police say that suspect was a truck driver, and he kept that woman in his truck.
Yeah, she finally got free in Brevard County. Fox 35's Alina Shirazi joins us live from Cocoa tonight. So, Alina, police say he just dropped her off here.
Yes, Luann and John, he did just drop her off exactly where I'm at right now. This is the exact spot in Cocoa. This is the truck stop where he dropped her off, and that woman said her 8-month captivity finally ended right here. This man, 53-year-old Robert Johnson Jr., is behind bars, accused of holding a woman hostage in his truck for 8 months. According to the affidavit, the trip started when the two met in Delaware. She escaped 8 months later when he brought her to the Flying J truck stop in Cocoa. When the two first met, police reports say the victim was looking for work as a prostitute. She told police she got into Johnson's truck to take him to buy drugs. The report shows after a few hours, it was obvious he wasn't interested in her services at that time. She told him she wanted to go home, and he said, "You don't got a home," and was hit hard enough to cause one of her front teeth to fall out. A few hours later, he knocked out her other front tooth. The victim claims he would use violence to keep her in the truck, often pointing a gun to her head threateningly and sexually assaulting her. Reports show his hostage spree finally came to an end after Johnson fell asleep and left his cell phone within reach. That's when she texted her mother. He found out and said he wasn't going to jail because of her or her mother. That's when he dropped her off. On top of all that, the report shows there was also a child inside the truck. The report says that person is Johnson's child, his daughter, and that she was a witness to his abuse. And Cocoa police tell me that child may have been abused as well, and the FBI is also now getting involved because of the nature of the case and because it spans different states. Now we're live in Cocoa. Alina Shirazi, Fox 35 News.
As Mr. Stacy has any contact with you since he's been released?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have a relationship with his mother?
Not any longer, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Potter? Any other questions?
No further questions at this time. It's just some closing statements from the
Okay. Remain here for 1 minute. Mr. Luca, do you have any questions?
Very briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Evans, I don't want to talk to you back. Isn't it true that you, between the time of the original incident that this occurred and today, there was an intervening car accident that you were involved in?
That is incorrect.
That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Potter, any follow-up questions?
No, Mr. State.
And State, do you have any questions? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anything else, Mr. Potter?
Yes, Mr.
Get on the ground!
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Don't move! Do not move! Do not move! Stay right where you are, okay? I'm not going to shoot you. Just keep listening to what I'm telling you, okay? What's your first name?
Andrew.
Okay.
That girl tried to kill me. She pointed a gun at me.
Okay, all right, just relax.
It's a gun to the left.
Okay,
kill me.
Relax. This officer's gonna come around.
I'm so sorry.
Relax.
I'm not moving. I'm not
Okay,
moving.
you're good.
Please. I'm not moving. I'm so sorry. She tried to kill me, and those other people are armed too. They had guns too. Give me another cover. Please be easy, gentlemen. I have no I didn't do anything wrong to defend myself.
So that she can be aware he may be returning to the state of Florida. Obviously, it's our preference that he doesn't return to the state of Florida. The order passed that in order there be no firearms in any home he resides with, and continue to, as we have here today, respect the victim's rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Filer. Sir. Okay, state any argument? I believe it's your motion.
No argument. We did coordinate our response. I would have to note, though, I do have to let the court know that the address that was given to the IA judge in Tennessee, there is some correspondence that we'd like to see that when he gave that address to the court, he actually was not allowed to be.
Jamie, this morning there are some new temporary changes coming to the student loan forgiveness program, and that means thousands of people could be eligible for a second look at their application.
And so what that means is that you possibly could have your debt wiped clean. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth is live in Winter Park this morning. And Randy, student loan consultants say that there are things that you should do right now to see if you do indeed qualify.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, this is especially important for people who are nurses, teachers, people who work in the public service industry or work as public servants.
Be made aware of new information that was not known at the time to the magistrate of the original initial appearance. For the record, last Thursday, just so we're clear as to how the events unfolded, immediately upon learning that there might be a warrant, before even the warrant was actually confirmed, Mr. Stacy retained our firm and myself to try to inquire as to finding out the warrant. Apparently there was some issue with how the warrant was initially submitted to the court, specifically to the spelling of Mr. Stacy's first name, one letter off. He actually tried to turn himself in Nashville when he thought there was a warrant outstanding, but there was no warrant because it was under the wrong name. That was since corrected by Detective Dozier on November 17th of the Oakland Police Department. He confirmed that with me at 4 o'clock. I immediately got on the phone with Mr. Stacy. He immediately flew and came into Orlando. The plan was originally that I was going to pick him at the airport and meet Detective Dozier at the jail to surrender him. However, apparently someone recognized him on the plane, and he was arrested and taken into custody by the Orlando Police Department. Either way, Your Honor, my client was not trying to be a fugitive of justice. He was not trying to flee the state. He was not trying to hide. He was trying to resolve this matter as quickly as possible. As far as the first appearance is concerned, that also was odd because, again, when I was informed of first appearance, that first appearance was going to be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on November 18th, that was the night before, on November 17th. The morning of November 18th, I received a call from Judge Baines, the initial appearance judge's judicial assistant, indicating that they wanted to move the pretrial up to 10 o'clock in the morning specifically because that is when the alleged victim would be available to testify. And that's the only reason why it was moved up. So it was not moved up because of me or because of anything else. It was moved up, as far as I know, because of Judge Bain and his understanding of conversations that he had with the state today.
I never thought it was moved up because of you. That's not a problem.
Okay. Or Mr. Stacy, I just want to let the court be aware of how this was. You're right. So initially, there was not, and again, I was not even given, there was not paperwork at the initial appearance to even review or time to review it because of the quick turnaround that we had. I had court here before Judge Adams at 9 a.m. and had to run immediately over to the jail to deal with the situation. So you're right, Your Honor, certain things were said in court that were unknown to me. However, they were brought to light. The injunction information was presented to Judge Bain, so that was known to him at the time. He imposed a bond that is in excess of the standard bond schedule pursuant to Administrative Order 0798-4717, and the most recent one, 2000-3924, which sets the Orange County bond schedule. Plus, also additionally, impose the additional condition of surrendering Mr. Stacy's passport, which he did. He did provide that address because that was he only provided the address in which he was staying at his last known address, so that was the only address he had at the time. That's one of the reasons why we're filing a change of address today, because we realized that because of this pending custody order that we were not aware of at the time, but since we've become aware of, Mr. Stacy cannot live there, hence he is now going to be living with his mother in Alabama until he goes to his program in December, and then will return to Alabama until he can get his own residence. So it's again not a fault of Mr. Stacy that this custody order prevented him from residing at that residence because no one knew that was actually an issue at the time. So I understand that this is an unusual case, an unusual set of circumstances that have led up from surrender to now. However, none of those were the fault of Mr. Stacy, and I don't think any additional conditions of bond are necessary, including home detention or any sort of ankle monitor or anything along those lines. It is going to further protect Ms. Evans from contact with Mr. Stacy. Mr. Stacy will be living 2 states away, actually 3 states away, and until December 1st, in which then he will be at least 2,500 miles away. So I think there's adequate safety precautions in place, and that the state, to satisfy the state and Mr. Fletcher's client, that Mr. Stacy is not a danger to her, her family, anyone else, and he does not intend to return to the state of Florida until he has to for court.
Okay, two states away. Part of Alabama and Florida are contiguous. However, let me ask you, and you made this statement, and it was going to be one of my questions, so I'm glad you brought it up. If I entered an order modifying the bond to prohibit Mr. Stacy from returning to the state of Florida except for court appearances, that's something that he could comply with?
Absolutely, Your Honor. No problem with that at all.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, I'd like to briefly respond, if I may. Sure. To what Mr. Luca was saying, I don't know where he's getting his information, and I'm not saying he's lying, but the information he just provided to the court was not true. Yes, sir. It was not accurate. Our client, Ms. Evans, had planned on attending the initial appearance in person. She communicated that to the court personnel. For whatever reason, it was moved up. She told them she was in the hospital, she was trying to be heard, and her voice was effectively silenced. So
it was, which is why we're having the hearing today. So
yes, sir.
All that has been remedied. New information I've heard that the initial appearance judge did not. It's her testimony.
Yes, sir.
So I agreed that would provide information if I thought it was appropriate to modify the bond. Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Purpose of bond is to ensure the safety of the community, and the primary purpose is to ensure your presence. Again, I gave your attorney very short notice for this hearing because I thought it was very important, and I thought that the victim should have her voice heard. It should have been heard on November 19th. It wasn't. We heard it today. I'm not going to modify your bond amount. I think the amount is appropriate only based upon your appearance today. And so I'm not going to increase the amount. I'm going to modify a condition of the bond that you not enter the state of Florida except when there is a scheduled court hearing, and that you not reside anywhere other than the Alabama address you provided where you reside with your mother, except for the time that you were in and participating in the inpatient program in the state of Colorado. Again, that's subject to modification upon motion, not upon you wanting to do it on your own. Does that make sense?
Yes, Your Honor.
And to be clear, you were to have no contact whatsoever, directly or indirectly, with, is it Ms. Evans?
Yes, sir.
With Ms. Evans in this case. State, as you're aware, the Ninth Circuit not only doesn't have an ankle monitor program, but specifically prohibits the ankle monitor program from being used, so I cannot authorize that today. Are there any other conditions you think are necessary for the safety of your victim?
Just reference weapons and firearms.
Okay, which has already been referenced, so I'm only modifying by adding, not subtracting any of the conditions. All the original terms and conditions of the bond set at initial appearance shall remain in full force and effect. That should assist you in that. Mr. Luca, any other concerns?
Yes, just very briefly, Your Honor. My client just informed me he does have some property at the 55 West address. He was just asking if he'd be allowed to go to that address today, obviously, before he leaves back to go to Alabama, to get as much stuff as he can, to pile in his car and to the go.
Okay, so you drove down here, Mr. Stacy? Correct.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and is it your intent to leave today or tomorrow?
Today.
Today, okay. You may remain in Florida. You can go to your address at 55. Is it West Central? Is that what the address is?
55 West on Church Street.
West Church Street, okay. To retrieve your items with the understanding you're going to have no contact with Ms. Evans, not go to the location where this event allegedly occurred, and you will, on December 1st, participate in that program in Colorado.
Yes,
Any
Your Honor.
questions about what happened here today?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Luca?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Fiver, anything else?
No, thank you.